Hello. If you go back 10 years, who had a diagnosis of ADHD? Not many people, but seemingly it's becoming more and more common. There's a fly buzzing around my atmosphere. Go away. It's seemingly becoming more and more common, and I'm like, as the DSM-5, that manual that tells us how many mental health diseases we can possibly have, gets bigger and bigger and bigger, I'm like, are we just over-diagnosing lots of mental health problems? Because the thing with mental health problems, and actually with lots of physical health problems, is that they're vague. There's grey, there's black, there's white, there's grey again. And it just means that everybody could have a mental disorder if you put them on that scale. And I just think, why are we over-diagnosing everybody? Okay, I'm going to be very unpopular here. I know that there are lots of people who need the diagnosis, but I also think, does everybody need the diagnosis? Okay, so I'm going to be talking today about our ever-waning attention spans, because most of you will have clicked off by now because I didn't get to the point quick enough. And we'll talk about that. Okay, attention span. We'll talk about ADHD diagnosis, whether I have ADHD, because it's quite possible, and my history with ADHD and all of my other mental health problems. I'm basically going to get into a debate with myself. Is a diagnosis of ADHD actually worth it or not? I don't know, okay? It's not whether it's worth it or not. It's, okay, we're going to get into it. Don't worry. Right. I've always wondered if I have ADHD. Maybe not ADHD, because I'm not that hyperactive, but maybe just ADD, attention deficit disorder. My mum got me tested to see whether I was deaf several times when I was younger. And it's because I just get super, into something and I just can't, it's like I'm not there. It's like I'm deaf. And she was like, is she okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. And so were the doctors. But it never went any further than that. And then I went into medicine. I don't know. I pick things up very quickly and then I'm quite happy to just move on, right? So I am all over the place. When I'm I'm gonna podcast and then I'm gonna go and do a video and then I'm gonna go work as a doctor and then I'm gonna go to acting classes. I've literally got my fingers in so many pies, but I love it. And I can't imagine my life where I'm just I'm just going to do one thing and that's it. And that's my life now. Because that just sounds like hell to me. I am pick and mix gal. I love colours. I love everything. And I know that doesn't mean I have ADHD or ADD or whatever. I'm just going to use them interchangeably. But I do have some other things that might lead towards it. I would be reluctant to get a diagnosis, however, and I will get into that in a bit. But I have always struggled. So when I got into medicine, I found medical training very difficult. Not only am I not very good at conforming and basically doing what people tell me to do and having a set structure, I also struggled to show my emotions for quite a long time. And I think that's due to other reasons. I don't think that's anything to do with what we're talking about today. But along with that, and the fact that I don't look like I'm paying attention when people are talking to me. And the thing is, I am. I am looking around, I'm looking at everything that's going on, but people, because they can't see my eyes, are she's not listening. But it's not true. I am very good at listening, but I'm also extremely observant. But I have some thoughts, and I spoke to somebody the other day, just casually, not a, mental health professional, just a guy that I was acting class with, and I was talking to him about, whether that's due to another reason, not ADHD. It's quite possible. Now, the reason why I'm talking about this is because it's particularly affecting me recently. As I've gone into acting and stuff like that, I've noticed that loads of people have a diagnosis of ADHD, but I've also noticed that people that I've known for a long time are also getting diagnosed with it. And I have, like I said, I really struggled to fit into medicine. And then I'm like, well, is that why I struggle to fit in? Or, because I am all over the place, I struggle to concentrate on one task. I'll start it and then I'll just jump to the next one. I always thought it was anxiety, and to this day I still wonder if it is. The more anxious I am, the more like that I am. And it's where does the boundary, the flies back, where does the boundary go between like anxiety and ADHD for me. I don't know. The thing is, I am like, well, do I really warrant a diagnosis? And like I said, I'm going to get into that a bit. I'm jumping the gun a little bit because I'm very tangential. I'm sorry. But yeah, medicine has always been a struggle. Like, I don't think it's the sole reason I left, but it is one of the reasons, is because I struggled to like, well, there's a lot of reasons, but in particular, I very much struggled to be a doctor robot, and that is what I call it. I think that you're a robot when you're a doctor, kind of. I also think it's a very negative environment, amongst many other things, amongst many other reasons, but I wonder if, you know, if I did get tested and they did wonder whether to test me for some kind of neurodiversity, whether it would have helped me, because it kind of would have given me I don't want to say excuse, but like a reason to be how I was, and for people to be like, oh, okay, she's not just a bitch, she actually has a reason to be like that. And I think a lot of people just thought I was a miserable bitch who couldn't pay attention and always looked like I didn't want to be there. And that was some of the depression talking, okay? But the issue is I'm always looking around, and like I said, people are like, hello, and I'm like, yeah, I literally know what you're saying, but just because I'm looking at other things doesn't mean I'm not listening. And I do have my theories for why I'm like that. I've alluded many times to my troubled childhood. That was my mini violin. And I think growing up in a fairly unstable environment makes you extremely hyper-vigilant to things. It makes you watch things that are going on. It makes you very observant. And it's funny because I like my observantness. But whenever I'm with somebody else, some people in particular, of the male kind, I don't know if it's because they're men or what, but they just don't seem to notice stuff. I'm like, how? I just find it so incredible how much people miss. And I'm not saying I'm like a fucking observant ninja spy, but I see a lot. Okay, I read body language like a ninja spy. I just notice like little things, and I personally don't think it's anything special, but when I speak to people, they're like, how did you see that? And they're like shocked, they're astounded that I've noticed it, and I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't think that was that abnormal, but maybe it's because I say it, I don't know. So hypervigilant, maybe that is why I can't pay attention. Maybe it's anxiety. I have never been formally tested, and yeah, I do think it would probably help me, but there are, again, still other reasons why I wouldn't get tested. Now, I have a bit of I know I'm a doctor, okay? I know it doesn't make much sense, but I have a bit of I don't know what you'd call it, a bit of a reluctance to getting diagnosed with anything. I think some diagnoses are helpful, but I don't think you need to start collecting them. And I think a lot of people really want diagnoses, and although I think it's beneficial in some instances, I also think there's a merit to not being diagnosed with stuff. And it's funny because I see people in hospital and they're like, there must be something wrong with me, and it's like, in my head I'm like, wait, isn't it a good thing that there isn't anything wrong with you? But people want something to be wrong with them, so that certain people in particular, not everybody, there are lots of people who are like, thank fucking God there is nothing wrong with me, but certain people in particular really want there to be something wrong with them. Okay, I'm going to say it. People with personality disorders in particular, they want something to be wrong with them, and they want a diagnosis. Now, that is for whole nother reasons, and they're probably an extreme kettle of fish. But is that what a group of fish are called? Why are they called a kettle of fish? I don't know, because I thought it was a shoal, but who knows? I've still got my cough. I'm really sorry, because there's nothing I can do about it. So please forgive me. So yeah, I have a reluctance for diagnoses. I'm like, the less that's wrong with me, personally, I think the better. It makes form filling a whole lot easier. You know, you don't have to put loads of stuff on insurance, and it's quite nice to not have stuff wrong with you, especially at the age of 28. Like, if you're below 40 or 50, do you really want loads of diagnoses? And I don't know, maybe people want it because they haven't got any. And it's like, well, maybe I've got a couple, so I don't want any more. But if you've got none, then maybe you want some. I don't know. I think everyone, sounds bad, but I do think everyone wants to be a little bit abnormal. Like, they want to be normal, but they want to be abnormal enough to still be normal, but not too abnormal to not be normal. If you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Like, people want something a little bit like quirky, a little bit something wrong with them. Oof, this sounds really twatty, but I've experienced it, okay, anecdotally. People want something to stand them out. They do. And I'm not just talking about diagnoses here. I'm talking about maybe it's your clothes, maybe it's your hair, maybe it's, I don't know, something else. But I think people do want things to stand them out a little bit. And people also, okay, maybe I'm talking about all the extremes of society here, because I don't want to put like 95% of people in this category. I think being a doctor, you see a lot of the extremes of society, and it's probably skewing my opinion. There are lots of people who warrant, benefit from a diagnosis, but there are lots of people who kind of don't, because it over medicalizes them and it puts them on more medications and it kind of gives them the attention that they want. But okay, let's put those people to the side, because I feel like they are a very small subsection of society, and I'm doing this an injustice. And I don't want people to think like, you're such a bitch. Like, I might be a little bit of a bitch, but I don't want to like alienate most of society, because I am, like I said, talking about a very specific subsection of the population who most people aren't, and most people listening to this are not going to be. So shut up, Dawn. But I do think mental health diagnoses are very vague. So you can go to a psychiatrist, I don't know, anybody can, and get one diagnosis. And then, I don't know, maybe a bit more comes out, fair enough, like some more symptoms, some more information. But you could go to a different one with the exact same information. And I'm not saying that, you can do this with anything, like any physical medical condition. Maybe within reason, like there are some simple things where you're like, that's a heart attack or it's not, okay, that's pancreatitis or it's not. But I've seen neurosurgeons argue over the very specific semantics of where a tumour is, and it's kind of like it matters, right? But not to the specifics they were going to. But anyway, what I'm saying is, when you speak to two different people, doctors, anything, you will always get different opinions, very slightly. And sometimes, the diagnosis is the same, it's easy. But often mental health, there's multiple issues going on. It's not clear cut. It's not like you have ADHD and that is it. There's sometimes a bit of anxiety, a bit of depression. And how much of the ADHD is anxiety? Like, I don't know. And how much of what we're seeing nowadays, this is a good question, how much of what we're seeing nowadays is actually just a lack of attention span? Boy, I want to get into attention span, because being a content creator, we as content creators, not as doctors, not as humans, I don't need to ever fight as a human in real life for somebody's attention. Like, I think I'm enough, right? Because I'm right in front of them. They kind of maybe don't have a choice, because it's rude just to like leave. And I don't know, it's easy when you're having a two-way conversation. But as a content creator, whoa, boy, are things different, okay? I am constantly, all content creators are constantly vying. Is that the right word? Buying? I don't know. Vying for someone's attention. Like, there's so much content out there. And this is where like TikTok has grown and shorts have grown, because everyone's attention spans are getting shorter. And does that correlate with the number of ADHD diagnoses? And I'm like, can we, there are people who have ADHD. Okay, I get that. It is a recognized mental health condition. I understand. I get it, right? I'm not saying it's false. I'm not saying it's not true. But there are also people that I think, I'm like, people who have ADHD literally can't help it. They can't change their attention span or their thinking pattern. Or maybe it takes severe effort, I don't know. But people with just a rubbish attention span could probably retrain that Like, are we just training our attention spans to be extremely short because we've got something else to move on to? And it's like, I do question if somebody's diagnosed in adulthood, it's like, you know, ADHD is not generally something that develops through your life. Like, I feel like you have it or you don't. I don't know. I'm not a psychiatrist. This not medical advice. I'm just throwing out some suggestions. But it'd be interesting to talk to a psychiatrist about this, actually. Maybe one day I'll get one on. Who knows? I haven't seen one in a while, so that sounds like for me. I haven't seen one at work in a while. So, you know, can be a little bit tricky to find. But they're very lovely people, very chill. I think I should be a psychiatrist, but I also don't think I've got the patience. I just squirted water all over myself. Oopsie. And it's like, if you took away all of the distractions, all of the, you know, society's like phones going off and fucking millions of YouTube videos plastered all over the internet and constant like scrolling, would those symptoms of like, you know, unable to concentrate, would they go away? Would they reduce if you lived a more simple life? And I do wonder, you know, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see. However, okay, I don't want to knock the merit of a psychiatrist's diagnosisness. I'm coming up with some real shit words here. I don't want to knock how good psychiatrists are at diagnosing people, because you have to go through quite rigorous testing, I think, at least from what I've seen in the past. I don't know if it's changed. I really don't. You have to go through some fucking stringent tests in order to get a diagnosis of certain mental health disorders, and it has to affect you in multiple different avenues of life. But I think if I really tried, or anybody tried, I think you could probably get a diagnosis of whatever you wanted, like a mental health diagnosis, I mean, because you know, if you've got a physical problem, often that can be seen on a scan. It can be, you know, it can be a test for it. Whereas if you're just doing, I don't know, I do think those psychiatrists can see through that. And I don't know, why am I saying that people are lying to get a diagnosis? I don't know if I am saying that, but I'm just saying, like, I think it would be quite easy to get one. But I also don't know the process. So I might be just discrediting a lot of people here. I'm throwing out hypotheses and seeing what happens. I'm not saying any of this is true. It would be nice to have someone to discuss it with, but I'm just discussing it with myself. So I have to give both sides of the argument, okay? And these are things that I'm thinking of. And look, I have some good things to say, so stick around, okay? In fact, some of these arguments are controversial. They don't necessarily align with my opinion. I just sort of thought of them and thought it'd be good to like have a little debate between myself and see who wins. This me or this me? I don't know. I think there is a lot to be said though for our attention spans. Okay, let's get back onto the content creating thing, because like I said, if you make content, you notice how shit people's attention spans are. Am I boring? Maybe I'm boring. I don't know. But it's like, if you watch some of the best content creators, the best as in they get the most views, it's because their videos are extremely stimulating. Because nobody watches like nice, slow, or let's not get to the point too quickly. Let's just like, you know, chill out and see what happens. Nobody watches a video like that. What I do personally, I don't watch TikToks because I think they're fucking damaging, or shorts. 2, I try to listen, or I try to watch even people's videos that aren't that overstimulating. So I watch a lot of like sustainable gardening videos, because I am trying to not let myself become that person that's like, oh, and just can't pay attention to anything. I think it's all too easy to fall into that trap. People, YouTube, Netflix, people who are making content, kind of, it's not that they want you to, it's not that they're doing it like on purpose to like fuck you up, but it's a kind of side effect of, we need to make money and we need to keep, and your attention is money, okay? So that is the side effect of people trying to make a business off making content. It's that it needs to be super stimulating, super intense, so that kids especially, unfortunately, watch it. And I tell you what, I watch some videos on YouTube. Okay, I'm going to talk about one YouTuber in particular, Mark Rober. His videos, very interesting, and I like them. but they're extremely intense. I feel exhausted, like my brain has run a marathon when I've watched one of his videos, and it's actually painful. Like, I can't watch more than one of them, and actually I actively avoid them now because I'm like they hurt me inside my brain. I sometimes leave YouTube, and I don't ever want to get to this state, but I sometimes leave YouTube feeling dead, like actually dead inside. And I think it's because of this dopamine depletion. Like, my brain feels like someone's injected it with cotton wool. Like, it actually feels like ugh. And I think, God, is this what we're doing to people's brains now? So for me, I actively search out content that is not super stimulating and is not trying to get my attention. So if I see small YouTubers now, and maybe it's because I am a smaller YouTuber, I purposely, 35 views, I'm clicking on it, because I know that it's not going to be like, I went and did this and it was fucking amazing and these are the stakes and it's like cut. And I've noticed it in my videos. I'm like, God, I don't know if I want to contribute to it. And I made a whole bloody podcast on this, being like, are we unethical to be posting on TikTok? Because it's like, am I just contributing to the demise of children's attention spans? I might be, and I don't want to be, because I don't know that it's ethical. Like, I want people to watch my content and be like, oh, that was nice and fun, and I could just, like watching a TV program. I watch Friends, I just have it on in the background. I want, maybe, I don't know, but it would be nice if people could just put my content on in the background and just sit, just sit and have it on. It doesn't need to be like super stimulating. And I'm like, am I the only person that watches a full YouTube video now? I don't know. Like, I honestly don't get it. The thing is, I don't actively necessarily watch YouTube videos. Like, I have them on in the background. It's like background noise, and I just like have it on. Maybe that's why my watch analytics for me watching other people's stuff is quite good, because I just have it on and it's fine. And for me, if it's too overstimulating and I have to pay attention to it, I'm like, no, I'd rather just like tune in, tune out, chill. And if it's something like that I have to follow a story, I'm like, I kind of want to just let it go in the background. I can pop in and out as I please. And maybe that's my shit attention span. But it depends what you're using YouTube for, I guess. Some people use it for like, how do I do this? I don't really. There are specific times where I go on YouTube where I'm like, I want to find out this very specific thing, and I will look it up on Google, and then if a video comes up, I'll watch it. But it's not my regular search engine. I am not like, how to do my laundry the most efficiently. No, I just do life and see what happens. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see. Oh, wait there. Okay, guys, I just want to say, all right, it makes me a bit sad that I can't keep people's attention for a long time. Like, it is sad, and maybe that's because I'm like, I want people to watch my content. I don't know, but it's like, imagine if you're in a conversation, because that's what it feels like to me. I'm in a conversation and you just don't care, and I'm like, wow, you don't care, like, you've just left. I shouldn't take it that personally. I get it. Like, I'm not for everybody. And I think something has happened with that YouTube thing, when it like plays the first bit and then you just scroll. I think that is bad for the analytics in terms of, I might not necessarily want to watch that video, but it just starts playing, and that contributes to their watch time, as in like, watch time, but also their like, did somebody just scroll off after 10 seconds? But it's like, I also think, are podcasts healing the world? Because podcasts are chill, they're relaxing. I listen to podcasts when I'm done with listening to music, which happens fairly frequently, where I'm like, oh, I need a break. Like, I need to not listen to music for a bit. And when your brain is like overstimulated, you just want to listen to somebody chatting in the background, and it's nice and it's soothing, and it feels like you're just listening to your friend talking, and that's quite nice. I find it crazy that people run and listen to podcasts. Like, I've never exercised and listened to a podcast. I do chores and listen to a podcast. I drive. That's the one that I do. I am a drive podcast listener. And I think podcasts are potentially a new revolution in content creation. And what I don't want to see is, I don't want to see podcasts changing to the point where they're overstimulating, and people are then like, pay attention to me, pay attention, ba 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 ba. And I've noticed some people starting to do it, and I will name names. The Diary of a CEO, I don't know if you would call his interviews podcast, but his interview podcast thing, they go on for like maybe an hour, but the first 30 seconds, and they've clearly done this on purpose, but basically tries to hook you in and gives you like all of the juicy bits first. Now, to be honest, I watched a couple of his podcasts and interviews, and like, I don't think they're bad, but I was like, they're the same, you know? They're just someone, it sounds bad, okay? But someone just crying about, and I know it's a shit situation, somebody crying about their childhood and saying like, oh, being a child actor is really sad. And then like, it's literally that, the whole like on repeat, and talking about their childhood. And like, I don't know, I just think I've heard enough of people's childhoods. They can be damaging, all right? And this is why I don't need to like go into mine that specifically, but and I've done a whole episode again on people, you know, I'm concerned for the human race, because I just think, wow, everyone's childhood messed up? Like, even if you have fame and fortune and like a great time and friends and family, is there always some fucked upness in the world? Like, what is going on? I get it, child actors have never been the sort of the goal, you know? They've always been a little bit concerning, because it's like, do you give that much fame and like attention to a child who has not figured out their personality yet? That's always risky, okay? And how did I get here? I don't know. But yeah, okay, I remember now. I don't want to see like podcasts starting to get like really stimulating. But then I think people who want to watch stimulating stuff for an hour, like, go for it, go do your thing. But there are a lot of people who just like, you know, want to listen to a normal person talking in a normal fashion, not like, I'm not even going to do it because it's just too much. It's like, I've already done it earlier this episode, you know, when everyone is just like screaming and like, ah! And like, it's just like, I want your attention. And it's just just like, chill out. Like, but I also see it from the other end, you know, success is kind of deemed by how much you can keep people's attention nowadays. And it is sad, like, but it's always been the case. Like, but the thing is, right, there are certain situations where you press play or you go to watch something and it takes a lot for you to click off, okay? I think if you've started a podcast, you're just going to listen to it. But the thing is, often, if I watch a podcast on YouTube, sometimes I run out of time and I have to leave, and then it's like, well, I didn't leave, but like, I will come back, but I just don't have time right now. But I think, you know, if you go to watch a film on Netflix, most of the time, if you start, you're going to finish it. And actually, I've started to go to Netflix, which is absolutely twisted to say. I've started to go to Netflix in order to have a break from YouTube, because I find YouTube it's too much. It's like, chill the fuck out. Like, I think that's why I'm kind of taming my content down to just it being me rather than it being like, wah, 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 wah. And I'm like, if I don't know, maybe I'm fucking myself over, but it's like, if I can't keep your attention, if I am not interesting enough for you, then maybe you're not my audience. I don't know. I'm like, do I play into the game of trying to capture people's attention, or do I just accept that I'm me and deal with it and go, look, this is my video. If you can't fucking pay attention, just leave. And the people who do pay attention are my biggest fucking besties. Like, they're the kind of they're the kind of people that, you know, we would be friends, like we would hang out. But I don't know, it's such a hard, like, you probably don't realize it if you're not in the sphere, but it's like, imagine, okay, let me come up with an analogy because I'm quite good at that. Imagine you're on the school playground, and I guess it's kind of like if you're getting picked for, I don't know, I'm trying to come up with a generic analogy. If you're getting picked for like a school sport team, you want someone to pick you, don't you? You don't want to be last. You don't want to be forgotten. So you're like, you might be like, oh, pick me. You might be like, playing your best throughout the trials or whatever so that you are noticed, right? That might be not a good analogy because not many people, I don't know if people play sports and like care about it that much, but you know, okay, say it's your first day at school, you want friends, so you go out and make friends, and imagine if they all ignored you. Like, I know it sounds silly to think, oh, your audience are your friends, but in a way, like, you're committing time to like spend time with me. If you're still here at 37 minutes, it'll probably be shorter, 30 minutes, like, fair fucking play. Like, we must be good friends now, okay? Because I just think that's crazy. But I also think it's amazing, like, that, you know, I don't know. Anyway, I'm rambling on about probably completely irrelevant things because most of you are not going to be content creators, but I'm trying to make it relevant, trying to say, you know, imagine if everybody ignored you in the school playground or at work. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's fucking depressing. If everybody's like, the louder you scream, the more attention you get. And if you're in the office and you don't have any friends because everyone's screaming louder than you. Tom, food's outside. Can you get it, please? They're calling me. Yeah, that's the actual reality of a podcast when you've ordered food. It sounds like I do this a lot. Maybe I do, but I need to kind of wrap this up, you know, because it's nearly midnight, but I'm having a good time. I am. It might not look it because I don't think you need to be super animated to be like having a good time. I just like chatting with you. It's weird because I actually feel like I'm talking to you, like oh, it's so weird. What? Oh, the code 81 yeah, it's weird because like I am so used to talking to the camera now that I feel like I'm talking to somebody. I know it sounds stupid, and it is. Maybe it is. I don't know. I think people get that when it's a parasocial relationship, if you want to know what it is. I actually might do an episode on that. But it's like, you know, often the person watching feels a connection with me or like the content creator that they're watching, and weirdly backwards, like I feel like I'm talking to you and you're listening, and it's weird because some of you guys comment and I'm like, well, then we have a chat and it's crazy and like, woo. Okay. Anyway, you came here for ADHD and then you got content creation. But I think it's important, you know? Everybody consumes a lot of content nowadays. And it's weird because you've probably never heard it from the other side. If you're not a content creator, you don't understand that your business is to keep people's attention. And Tom said, I'm non-conforming, okay? My content doesn't conform. Traditionally, and I kind of like it that way. Like, you can easily become a copy and paste YouTuber. You can become like a challenge YouTuber. That is trendy, okay? I don't think I care about becoming a challenge YouTuber. Number one, I tried it and it's just exhausting. Like, I'll be honest, I didn't want to do the challenges. I was like, it's too much. Like, and that's why, because a lot of people don't want to do them. You know, that's why it's amazing to watch, because it's like, you sat in a bath of beans for 500 hours. Like, it's a shit thing to do. Like, it actually is, especially if you're not getting paid for it and you're just like, oh, I hope this goes well. But anyway, yeah, I don't know, might be irrelevant. You've probably all clicked off by now. There's probably nobody listening, ironically. I think me talking about content is important because we do consume a lot of content, and it's whether or not it is infecting our brains with, you know, a lack of attention. Like, can we not pay attention because of the constant overstimulation and somebody's always fighting for our attention? It's interesting. It is. Okay, come on, let's get back to ADHD. I think it kind of feels like I'm taking a massive segue now, but let's get back to oh god, I don't know how to get into this like easily. I think, right, I'm gonna say some more controversial things before I get back onto the like, but actually, should we, you know, maybe giving people a diagnosis of ADHD is a good thing. So I'm gonna say some more controversial things. You can hate me, fucking give it a dislike, whatever, and then I'll get onto the stuff where I'm like positive and nice, because it's possible. Number one, I've already said it, people want a diagnosis and then I'm like, well, are they just wanting an excuse for their bad behaviour? Especially children. Like, not the child wanting an excuse, but it's like, where does a child just, you know, are they just a child and it's like the parents want an excuse for their child's behaviour? It's especially common in America, and everybody's on Ritalin, and I'm a little bit scared because it's like, cool, you're just gonna medicate your child? Like, excellent. Sounds healthy. Medications have fucking side effects, alright? And if you don't need them, I'm like, don't do it. Like, stay away. I try to stay away from as many medications as I can. Ironically, yes, I'm a doctor, but actually that makes me very wise to the side effects and the long-term issues of being on medication. They are, especially painkillers, oh boy, they are with significant side effects and morbidity. Like, you go on painkillers in your 20s, I mean, you could also argue that maybe it's because you're in lots of pain, but like, things go downhill. I'm telling you, I've seen it all. So, you know, I think medicating people who don't really need it, especially children who inherently have terrible attention spans, like, they are all over the place. You can't blame a child for having no attention. And it's like, well, do they just have a lack of discipline? Obviously, I'm not saying it for everybody, but there are definitely cases of which this is the case, okay? And I do think, is it gonna lead to a lack of resources in people who really, really need it? Because if we start diluting this diagnosis of ADHD, then not everybody, lots of people are gonna have a diagnosis of ADHD, and then it's like, well, who gets the resources? Is it the people who are like really severe, and then who do you decide who's really severe when everybody has a diagnosis of ADHD? So it's quite hard. Anyway, let's move on to the positive stuff, because I do have some good things to say. I think, like I said earlier, some people do really need the help, okay? I do not doubt that. I don't think I've seen some really severe ADHD cases. My ex-boyfriend actually had ADHD. But he was also young, so I don't know what he's like now. Attention span wasn't great, but also if you're 16, I don't know. He did have a diagnosis, so I don't know if I'm allowed to say that while I did it. But you also don't know who I'm talking about, so unlucky. Anyway, also, I do think it benefits people. You know, if I got a diagnosis of ADHD, would it benefit me? Like, if I had it, yes. If I didn't have it, probably yes. Because I'm like, it would explain to so many people, and it gives, I can never finish a sentence. It would explain to so many people that I work with why I'm like why I am. Now, am I saying I have it? I don't know. Like, I don't, and I'm not going to go get myself tested anytime soon. But, because the reason why, I just don't think it will change that much. I do think it would help in medicine for like people to be like, oh, she's how she is because she's got ADHD, and that makes me understand something, as in from their perspective looking at me, because then people will be like, why is she so fucking weird and she doesn't look like she's paying attention? That would help, okay? It would answer a lot of questions. But I'm also like, I'm not going to go on medication. I don't want to. And I've recognised that I probably don't fit into the medical role as well as other people. So I'm making alternative choices, and it's taken me a long time to get there, but I made it. Also, like I said earlier, only severe cases will actually get diagnosed and treated, you would hope anyway. And I think a lot of people that get this diagnosis don't actually go on medication unless it's really severe, because it makes you feel dead. So I've heard. Like, you stop being yourself and you start just becoming like... It's ironic that the treatment for hyperactivity is speed. Amphetamines. Like, Ritalin is an amphetamine. I just don't understand it. It feels backwards to me. It really does. I don't get it. Yes, I'm a doctor, but I don't know everything. All right? Moving on from that, like, that is a perfect segue. Who the fuck am I to comment? I don't have an ADHD diagnosis. Like, who am I to comment on this? I do know people with ADHD. I'm kind of like... I also don't know what it's like to be them, but looking from the outside in, I'm like, I don't think your life is that different to other people's. But I don't know. I don't live with them. I don't know what their daily struggles are. I don't know what their day-to-day life entails. Like, who am I to comment? I'm not a psychiatrist. Shut the fuck up. Do you know what I mean? So, and I also think not only does a label for other people help, I think a label for yourself is kind of like settling, like, oh, that's why I've always been a little bit difficult to control. And, it would answer a lot of questions and give some kind of closure to the situation and help people find good ways to deal with their problems, and also find other people like them. Because if you've got a label on something, it's much easier to go, okay, I have this ADHD and this is how you treat it, this is how techniques to manage it, and these people have it too. Cool, I'll go and we can go and talk. And actually a label in a way is quite useful for that kind of, situation. That was the most basic word, and I was like, what shall I say? Anyway, guys, I think that's it. Let me know if you think I have ADHD. I would say I'm definitely on the spectrum, but I think everything's a spectrum, So I've probably got a bit of autism. I've got a bit of depression, that's for sure. I am not depressed anymore though. I've definitely got a bit of anxiety. Yeah, if you look at any mental health disorder, you've probably got a bit of some of it. Have I got a bit of OCD? I don't know. I don't think so. I'm quite relaxed, to be honest. I don't really obsess that much about mess or order or things, so probably not. I don't like mess, makes me a little bit stressed, but I can deal with it. Anyway, yeah, let me know what you guys thought in the comments down below. If you're watching on YouTube, hello. If you're listening, hi. You can head over to YouTube if you want, or you could just not leave a comment, but it would be great if you were just listening to give me a rating on wherever you're listening to the podcast. If you're listening on my actual RSS feed on my Buzzsprout website, then go over to maybe Spotify is a good one, and just give it a rating on there. I know it's a small amount of your time, but it will help, and I don't know, I'm trying to give you a reason to do it. It would make my day, okay? Is that a good enough reason? And also, how will it benefit you? Well, it will, because everyone needs to know how it benefits them, otherwise they're not going to do it. It's just going to make my content better. It's going to get my content out to people. It will help me get I don't want to say it, but I guess, am I going to say it? I guess the thing is, right, when you make content, you always want it to make money. I don't want to say it, because the money helps you live. And then if you're able to live, then you're able to support making content. It would also help me get, okay, I know, the money I need is, I love my camera, but it's a little fucker and it turns off every half an hour and sometimes the battery dies. So I would quite like to buy a new camera. It's only £100. That'd be great. I do have a Patreon page. You could help me out on there. I hate asking for help and money, so I'm just going to stop. But yeah, it would be great if you could give me a like or a subscribe or a little review. Cool. So I've just been a little bitch for the last few minutes, but yeah, if you've listened all the way to the end, fair fucking play. I love you. Your attention span on point, or maybe I was that interesting. I'd like to think it's a little bit of both, but whatever. Maybe I was talking about something interesting. I don't know. Anyway, I'm rambling. I upload every Mondays and Thursdays, and then the video comes out 2 weeks after the audio. However, you can get early access to the video on my Patreon page, which is Diaries of a Doctor. Plug. Fuck off, Dawn. Okay, love you. Bye. Thanks for listening.